During my course of work, assisting to load steel, I was struck unconscious by a piece of steel that hit me so hard that I saw the other side. I saw this person with long hair and a big beard. There was an accident, and his skin was so white that it was nearly porcelain-like. On the way up, his skin tone alternated between black and white like a chameleon. Afterwards, his skin went gold and his face opened up, releasing a white light as he transformed into a golden humanoid. After that, he walked off. His voice was so magnificent that I could hear it reverberating around him. In the end, it didn't matter what kind of music you were listening to. It was simply wonderful. My memory of that moment is hazy, but it seemed as if I was being dragged into a half circle of people standing behind him. My memory also recalls a group of folks that were extremely close together. Then, as I approached, it seemed like I was a long way away. I'd say it was somewhere about 80 yards or so. This is something I'm not sure of, but it seemed like a long time. I was almost there, as soon as I walked through the door, and then saw this. There were in fact humans who could fly. There were in fact humans that could fly, and I'm well aware of how ridiculous this sounds, having made fun of things like this in the past. It occurs to me that humans with wings were a nice idea, so I thought about it for a while. And of course, there's a whole angel that looks similar. As a result, I can recall only being aware that I was dead. He reached out his hand to me, and I was like, wow. Then he extended a hand to me while I was not even trying to believe in angels or anything like that. However, I could still hear him saying something to me. No, please, don't take me. Not like he was speaking, but I could still hear him via his thoughts. And the light that surrounded him and illuminated his lovely interior was a gentle white light of the most delicate hue. It wasn't so bright that it would damage your eyes. However, the glow that emanated from his face was eerily identical, like when his face started to bleed. As for the rest of the tale, yeah, he said with a shrug. He was attempting to snatch me from my feet because I begged you not to. Please do not take me with you. I have to look after my family. I have to check on them. And he had a smile on his face. Afterwards, I saw him leaning his head back and nodding at me with a smirk. He used a different term for me. I'm not sure, I'm still having trouble pronouncing it. But I won't. I'm at a loss as to why this is happening. It seemed to be there in front of you. After that, he referred to me by a different moniker. That, or he calls me Willie by that name, and he tells me he'll see me in a while. And then I remembered I didn't feel any discomfort in that area. In that situation, I was okay. In an instant, I was back in my own body. I was lying on the ground in excruciating anguish, unable to draw in breath and expel it from my lungs. If you want to call it that, you can name it the umbilicus, the belly button, and that's the worst hit I've ever received. For the time being, I was merely lying on the floor for a few moments for you. I'm not even sure how much longer it will go on. However, a co-worker of Dan's was outside as the band began to play, and the person who was busting the band out collapsed on the ground. That's when I was just like lying there on the ground, freaking out because I'm like, no, but no one needed to worry about me being wounded since he sent me back. However, while I sat there, dumbfounded, Dan ran over and said, "Oh, my angel, I'll call an ambulance. Would you just give me a second?" I was like, I don't like this. Dan pulled out his phone and started dialing 911. At this point, I'm not sure whether I was able to say anything. The struggle to acquire oxygen was still ongoing, but I had my wits about me. After seeing what I had, my head was still reeling from it. I didn't pretend to be calm when I really wasn't. I had no fear at all. It didn't matter that I had my ass kicked and smashed. I was okay. A few minutes after that, my wife contacted me out of the blue saying, "I just had a terrible, awful nightmare that you were murdered. In the end, the metal smothered and suffocated you to death." After telling her this, she broke down in tears and said, "I just had the worst nightmare and I knew you died. I don't know what to say since something so bizarre had occurred." In her voice, she said she was on her way to collect her and take her to the hospital. I said, "No, I'm okay. I know I'm fine. When I come home, I'm going to tell you a weird tale, but I don't know how." As soon as she stopped sobbing and pestering me to the point that she wanted to take me to the hospital, I was like, "I'm okay." And I told her I'd tell her like that. "Really? I'm okay, thanks. You know, I just was punched in the belly, slammed into another shelf, and flung to the ground. Yet I was okay. I was really excellent, and I recall feeling as though something had shifted in my life. I simply knew there was a higher power at work. A major factor in my decision to stop ghost hunting was the realization of my own mortality at this time. As a youngster, I've always been fascinated with the paranormal. Even though I was just on the other side for a few seconds, there were a slew of interesting things I remembered about it. To be honest, I'm not sure how to express it, but angels seemed like such an amazing creature. I'm not suggesting he was the angelness, but rather a man. So what? After that moment, I wanted to be the best person I could be. That's what I decided to do, and so on. I grew as a person and became a better person. I won't say that I don't still feel upset and want to stomp on people's asses, because I do, but I have a better grasp on the bigger picture.